Okay, hi. We are in Jacob 5, 6, and 7 this week, so there will be 2 videos. Okay, as far as Jacob 5, there's so much study material, there's so many resources. It's an allegory that Zenos wrote, that Jacob is basically kind of taking from Zenos and putting it into Jacob. So it's from Zenos, and so it's this allegory / parable. People have different opinions on what it is and what it means, and the depth behind it. So I am not going to go into all the symbolisms and the meanings and all the deep things in there, right? I am just going to tell the story as it's written, and kind of summarize it for you guys, and then kind of give my take on certain things in here, but I'm not going to break everything down. So we're going to start today in standing. Let's come to our breath. So start to inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Just start to kind of warm up the body, warm up the breath. Inhale and exhale. On your next inhale, you're going to engage the bandhas. So there are 2 bandhas. There are actually 3, but we're going to talk about 2. So on your next inhale, you're going to engage and lift that pelvic floor. That's your Mula Bandha. And then your Uddiyana Bandha is when your belly button comes in towards the spine. So engaging this triangle right here, bringing it up and in towards the spine and putting kind of a lock on those muscles, and the energy will stay up here in the lungs and help you breathe and help your poses become stronger. So inhale, engage those bandhas, and exhale. Inhale, engage those muscles, and exhale. Okay, so keep the breath. Lift your right knee up. And as you do this, again, engage that core, right? We're always engaging that core. So engage the core first, and then let the core muscles kind of bring that knee up, okay? And you can come here, you can place both hands on your hips for a little bit more stability. It gives you more balance on either side. You can come over and kind of grab that knee. It'll help to lift it wherever you are, or you can come here. That's a little bit harder because it's all on your left leg. So wherever you are, choose your balancing pose for a minute and keep that breath. Remember to always keep the breath. And I'm just going to start in verse 3. Thus saith the Lord. So this is the Lord speaking. I will liken thee, O house of Israel, likened to a tame olive tree, which a man took and nourished in his vineyard, and it grew and waxed and began to decay. Bring that leg down. Use the core. Lift the left leg. Before we start anything, let's introduce some things. There's a Lord of the vineyard, there's the servant of the vineyard, and there's a vineyard. So a lot of people say that the Lord of the vineyard could mean our Heavenly Father, and the servant is Christ, and we are the trees of the vineyard. A lot of people say that Christ is the Lord of the vineyard, and we are the servant, and everyone around us are the trees in the vineyard. So, there's a lot of takes on this. Like I said at the beginning. Okay, bring that leg back down. Now we're gonna lift, again, use your core, lift the right knee, good job, Pace, and then bring it out to the side, this way. Good job, honey. Okay, so it starts out that he has this vineyard, and this tree, this olive tree, starts to decay or die. And the servant is like, look at your tree, it's kind of dying. And he's like, but we've pruned it, we've digged it, we've nourished the roots, we've done all that we can do, and it's still dying. So the Lord of the vineyard says, okay, let's take this tree, let's graft in some strong branches, let's cut the dead branches out, and then prune it. So let's take some of the branches, whether they're healthy or not, out so that other branches can get light. Okay, right leg down, left leg up, and to the side. So let's prune this tree even more. Let's get rid of the dead ones, right? Let's just nourish it, and graft in some other branches to make it stronger. And so the servant says, okay, verse 12, wherefore go thy way, watch the tree and nourish it according to my words. He's like, okay, I've done it. Now we'll watch the tree and see how it does. And then the Lord of the vineyard takes these other branches that they used from the pruning, they took those branches and buried them and planted them in another part of the vineyard, just in case this tree over here dies. Maybe some will grow over here from some of the strong branches. Okay, left leg down. Okay, this time let's just bring our right foot to the back. Verse 15, and it came to pass that a long time passed away. So they waited for these to grow. Right leg down, left knee up. So then they come back to their vineyard and they say, and they look at their tree, their nourished tree, their newly grafted, pruned tree, and their newly planted trees, right? And the Lord of the vineyard turns to the servant and says to their grafted tree, look, we grafted it, we made it strong, the roots are good, like we nourished this tree back to health, and look how strong it is, it's beautiful, and it's bearing forth such good fruit. Okay, left leg down. Let's do our right, so now our right leg comes up, and with our peace fingers, we're gonna grab the big toe, or you can grab the outside of your foot, whatever works for you, and then we're just gonna bring it straight out. What's important in this pose, okay, let's talk about this for a minute, is the length in your spine. You wanna reach up, be strong. Your energy is a line, right? Your energy is not necessarily flowing from your hip straight out. It doesn't matter if your leg is straight. It does not matter, that's not important. What's important is keeping that foot grounded to your hips to the top of your head, very straight and energetically shooting upward, very long and straight, okay? So wherever you are, even if you want to just keep it right here and work on that balancing pose on that left foot, stay there. If you want to bring it out just a little bit, keep that leg bent, that's totally fine. If you want to bring it out all the way and just challenge that, you're welcome to do that too. But just keep that spine long and straight. So then the Lord of the vineyard is like, this one's really strong, it bore such good fruit. Look at these that I planted over here as well. And so they walk over to the other part of the vineyard, and they're strong, and they're planted, and their roots are good, and they're bearing good fruit. And I love in verse 21 how he says, and the servant said unto his master, how comest thou hither to plant this tree, or this branch of the tree? It's the poorest spot in all the land. Like, why did you plant these here? The soil's not even very good. And verse 22, the Lord of the vineyard said unto him, I know it was a poor spot, but I have nourished it a long time, and it hath brought forth much good fruit. And then verse 23, I have planted another branch of the tree also, and it's an even poorer spot of the ground. So he's like, look at these, you think these are good, or the ground is poor. Look at these over here, and they're strong, and they're growing and bringing forth so much fruit, and it's even poorer, a poorer spot in the ground, and they're still doing so good. And then he says, and look at over here. Look at this one I've planted over here. Okay, bring left leg up. Let's grab the outside of the fat foot or the big toe and just come into wherever you were on the other side. And look over here. Like, this is a pretty good part of the soil or the ground, or so we thought. You know, this is good soil. But look at this tree. It's not doing as well as the others in the poorer soil. It's bearing forth fruit that is a little bit wild and a little bit bitter. And then in verse 27, but maybe we should nourish it a little bit longer. I think it'll be strong like unto the others if we just nourish it maybe a little bit longer. I love that so much. Like, we're not giving up on it. Okay, left leg down. This time, let's do a tree pose because we're talking all about these beautiful olive trees, right? So it's only natural that we do a tree pose. So we're gonna take our right foot, engage that core, Bring that foot up and into the inner thigh of the left leg. We do not want it on the knee joint. We want it either above the knee, or you can go down here below the knee. Wherever you want to go. So come into standing, and it's really going to challenge your balance for a minute. It really helps if you keep your eyes gazed on an immovable object and just kind of focus. Breathe, keep your breath strong, and slow it down. That'll also help with your balance. And then verse 29, it came to pass that a long time had passed away. So they nourished that tree that was kind of struggling a little bit and waited. So then they come back to the vineyard, the servant and the Lord of the vineyard. And they see that it had brought forth much fruit. All of the trees had fruit on them of all the kinds. All the grafted trees, all the trees planted in the good and the bad soil, they all had a ton of fruit on them. Verse 33, what should we do unto the tree? And the Lord of the vineyard tastes all this fruit, and he's like, this isn't actually very good fruit. It's not, it is fruit, but it's not very good. Some of it's wild, some of it's bitter. Okay, let's bring that right leg back down. Inhale, left leg up, and breathe here. He's like, oh no, this fruit isn't very good. They're struggling again. And in verse 41, and it came to pass that the Lord of the vineyard wept. And he said, what could I have done more for my vineyard? That's such a beautiful, beautiful verse. And the Lord wept and said, what could I have done more? After all of this time that, according to the scripture, according to the story, he has spent so much time nourishing these and loving them and giving them the proper pruning and grafting that they need, right? Okay, bring that left leg down. Inhale, right leg back up into tree pose. And this time we're gonna forward fold in our tree. Okay, so inhale here, and on your exhale, you're gonna just slowly try to forward fold. If you need some help, if that leg keeps kind of slipping down, like mine just did, you can bring it back up, and this time just place your right hand on your ankle and try it again. And that right hand can kind of hold it into place a little bit. And yes, it's gonna challenge your balance. Once you're about here where your hands can reach the ground, inhale, halfway lift right here, lengthen that spine, take a breath, and then exhale and just come back down. At the very end, lower your head all the way down into like a forward fold, and your hands can totally help you balance. He wept, what could I have done more for my vineyard? And I mean, it's the good spot of the ground, it's the lesser spots of the ground, it's the grafted tree. All of them have just kind of had this like bad fruit on them. And he says it again, verse 47, what could I have done more in my vineyard? I've nourished it. Haven't I nourished it? Haven't I digged it? Haven't I pruned it? Haven't I dunged it? Like, I've stretched forth my hand for all of these things, and it grieveth me that all my trees are corrupted. Okay, bring that right leg down. Slowly come back up. Take a couple breaths up here, and inhale the left leg to wherever it was. You can keep your left hand on that ankle, and slowly come down till your hands reach the floor. Inhale here, lengthen the spine, halfway lift, and then exhale, very last, bring your head down and relax your neck. And then in verse 49 again, what could I have done more for my vineyard? It's such a beautiful sentence. Like, what more is there for me to do? He just keeps asking that. And it grieveth me, and like you can feel that he's just so sad that his trees are not making it to make good fruit, And I've been there so many times. I love plants. I love greenery. I love anything natural and earthy, and I love having a garden. I do it every year, and it's my pride and joy. And it's really hard. I've had so many times where my plants just are not doing very good, or they don't make it. And it's seriously, it's so sad. Like, I feel for him. Like, I have wept over my plants, personally. I totally have. My husband thinks it's silly, but they are special special. They're special, especially when you take so much time and energy into these plants and loving them and making sure they grow and nourishing them. And it's hard when they don't make it. Okay, let's bring that left foot down. Slowly roll up onto the spine, bring that head up. Very last. Take a couple breaths here. This time we're going to inhale the right leg up. And this time, instead of coming outward, opening that hip. Sorry, my daughter's playing over here, so if you can hear that, that's fine. Instead of opening that hip, we're gonna close the hip just a little bit and bring this foot either in the crease of your thigh, or you can just come right here, figure four. Again, not resting on that knee joint, just right on that thigh, on the lower thigh. And you can go anywhere in between there, obviously. But, so wherever you are, inhale here. And then exhale, again, just slowly start to come into a forward fold. When your hands can reach the ground, inhale, lengthen the spine, and exhale, forward fold onto that leg. In verse 59, I think the good can overcome the evil. The Lord of the vineyard is like, you know what? I think we can actually get over this. And I think that it'll work. And I think that we can prepare a way in which these trees can become strong again. And I think it'll probably be the last time, and I know that they're weak, and I know they're struggling, and I know we've done this a lot, but I think that we can do it. And in verse 63, the last may be first, and the first may be last. So they nourish it, they graft them, they get the strong branches, and they get the weak out of the way, and they help them grow. In verse, 64, then shall you prepare a way for them that they may grow. Okay, bring that right leg back down, roll up onto the spine. Take a couple breaths up here. So they're doing it, they're trying again. And how many times do we think, I'm done, like I'm giving up, this is too hard. It's obviously not working, so I'm done. They have tried this 3 times, right? Okay, our left leg comes up either in that thigh crease or down to a figure 4, wherever you are. Inhale here and exhale, slowly forward fold. When your hands can reach the ground, inhale, halfway lift, lengthen the spine. Exhale, come down into a forward fold, relax that neck and gaze backward. And then in verse 65, I love that it says, ye shall not clear away the bad, therefore all at once. Like, this is the part that really spoke out to me the most. They got rid of the dead branches. They did not get rid of the bad branches. And I kept having this feeling while reading this of like, we don't have to be perfect beings as little olive trees, right? We have bad branches. We have trials in our life. We have things that we struggle with. We have doubts. Okay, let's bring that left leg down, roll up, that make us quote unquote imperfect beings, right? And I just quote that because that's not what perfection is. But that's another topic for another day. But they did not get rid of the bad branches. We don't have to get rid of our bad branches. Our trials make us strong. Our struggles make us strong. Our doubts, they make us strong. That's why they're there, and that's how they teach us, and that's how we grow. That's how these trees grew. They didn't just plateau at good fruit. They had to go in this up and down motion of life that brings them up into good fruit. And then, and when they're down, they need a little bit more nourishment so that they can get back up and be strong and keep the bad branches so that their good ones will be stronger and so much better. Oh, I just love that so much. And then in verse 66, that the good shall overcome the bad. Yes, we're keeping the bad branches, and we're keeping all these good branches that the good may overcome the bad. It's so good. It's so beautiful in so many ways. So they do, and according to the strength thereof, in 73. And so they wait for a minute longer. So they wait for a little bit longer for these trees to prove their strength. And they come back and they are strong. And they did it, and the good overcame the bad, and their fruits were equal, and they were beautiful. And then in verse 75, and it came to pass that when he saw that the fruit was good, and his vineyard was not corrupt, he called up his servant and said, Behold, for this is the last time we have nourished, and we have done it according to my will, and I've preserved all this beautiful natural fruit. And it's good, and he's so joyful, and he's like, I've done so many things. It's been a journey, you know. I've been through it all with these beautiful trees, and I'm so happy, and you can just feel the happiness. And then in verse 77, then will I cause the good and the bad to be gathered, and the good will I preserve unto myself, and the bad will get cast away into its own place. And then cometh the season in the end, and my vineyard will I cause to be burned with fire. So, I mean, you know, that's the end of his vineyard, but he did it. And I just, again, you know, the good and the bad will be gathered together. They will create us, the good and the bad. They will be together in our life, in our story. That's who makes us. That's what makes us grow. And the bad will be cast off in a different place. Inhale, reach up. I know we did a lot of leg work, so reach those arms up. And let's just kind of stretch our triceps, grab that right elbow. Inhale up and exhale left side. It's interesting as I study these scriptures, the chapters that intimidate me the most, as you've probably maybe felt this as I record them, but the ones that intimidate me the very most, I mean, this one has like 77 verses, and at first I was like, ooh, you know, and sometimes it takes a lot of courage for me to share these and put my testimony out there on the internet. But it's interesting how the chapters that intimidate me the most at the beginning become my very favorites after studying and studying and studying them enough for me to stand in front of you and with confidence. And you know, the weak will be strong and the strong will be weak, right? That's my chapter experience in the Book of Mormon this whole year. Inhale one last time and exhale. I just want to share my testimony and echo that the things that we struggle with are a part of us, and it's beautiful, and it helps our tree and our branches grow stronger, and that the good may overcome the bad. And not necessarily erase them, because that's still a part of our story, but make it this circle of beauty. You cannot have the light and the dark without each other. It's light because of the dark, and it's dark because of the light. And that's what makes us. And I really, really, really believe that. So love yourself. Wrap your arms around yourself and just love yourself. The way you are right now. Love that. You don't need to change. You don't need to feel different. Love this. Love who you are right now. The light in me honors and loves the light within you guys. I love, love, love my people who commit and love these videos. I love hearing from you. The light in me honors and loves you. Namaste.